lawsuits against the directors as individuals.
Just a minute.
How many directors are we going to have stay on a board where that's taking place? By the way, ask Mr. Steele, he was one of our directors.
There was 3 that derivative lawsuit was launched against it, wasn't
Why
it?
only 3, by the way, when there was 9 directors?
Because
Typically,
they were the ones
holders.
that, they were the ones that started.
Once again, greed and selfishness.
So tell me, why would they, listen, if they're so rich, why wouldn't they have just cut a check to fix this situation a long time ago?
Actually, our directors did try to contact NACO to do a deal with them, and they just used the information and filed more affidavits, I believe.
one of our
Because NACO can make more from those patents.
one of our well-respected,
Of course.
very successful directors from Minneapolis took it on his own to approach NACO to make substantial offers to settle this, where we would give guarantees as to where we raise the money so that they would get paid back in a reasonable amount of time. John can attest to this. He was a director at the time. We made multiple attempts to offer that, and there was no concrete response from NACO whatsoever that they would consider it, accept it, negotiate. We heard nothing. Nothing. So the only thing we could determine from that was they didn't want their money back. That wasn't their intention. We offered to pay it back, so they don't want to take it. So what can we surmise from that?
They also took a lot of the information they got from that director and used it either in affidavits or...
Yeah, it showed up in court, in affidavits, the without prejudice discussion that took place in those conversations.
So do you have any other questions? Because we're going to ask you to leave next, Stacy.
Were all those on that sheet covered off, more or less?
So what do you want us to go through one by one?
I don't know.
It doesn't really matter.
No, it doesn't matter. You're right. Okay, no
I
sweat.
do have a question for Stacy though. Because there has been occasional emails from you putting out information to support your position against PVT, right?
Now support my position, please.
Okay.
To let people know what had been filed in courts in those affidavits.
Okay, so
That's all.
what would you like, as you put that information out, as you put it up to me personally, say, what would you like for me kind of to support your position? Do you want me to do anything, or do you want just to be taking the information?
If you decided that you wanted to do something because things weren't correct or right in your mind, well, we could have a conversation. If not, that's okay too.
And then what would you see to protect me? Like my main interest in PVT is financial. There's my money in PVT.
Right.
So what strategy do you have to protect my investment or to make my investment a better investment than what you think it is right now? I think that's a really key point for me right now.
Well, as I said, it goes back to that question we had up here.
Yeah.
When I put that when I put that website together, in my wildest dreams, I would have never thought we would have got to this point. In my wildest dreams. So to derive some plan to make something happen wasn't even part of the equation. Never has been. I just want to see the shareholders get their money, and after the fiasco in Niagara Falls, that I would be really, suspect, because if I'm anywhere as a city councilor or a city manager, and I mean that's on the Niagara Falls Gazette's webpage, that information, I mean if you take a look at my website, there's only one link to a small article on about Niagara Falls website.
So you never covered all the articles. You didn't cover where the actual council member said it wasn't PVT's fault for this failure. You didn't cover...
Well, no, but I just...
Well, I mean, Stacy,
what I'm saying,
when
what am I...
Google City looks at that, they don't only get half the
claim to say
the
truth, but yet you choose
All I'm
which side
saying
to buy.
all I'm saying is that there was some information about one thing. So city councilors in other cities aren't going to my website and making a decision something's gone bad in Niagara Falls.
Yes, they are.
They're going to Niagara Falls and checking it out.
No, they
Well, they
print
certainly
out...
would.
I've been in Galveston, Texas, where they showed your website, Stacy. They printed out and showed me, what's this about?
And they would still go to the city of Galveston, the city of Niagara Falls.
No.
We have no problems with them contacting Niagara Falls.
Anybody can call.
The mayor himself has basically written us a letter of recommendation.
And we still have people calling the mayor we dealt with in Niagara Falls, and he's still giving us good information. Until they see your website, Stacy.
I want to talk about one of your questions. Why is NACO attempting to bankrupt PVT? The only feasible reason I can think of is that if they bankrupt the company, they can use
In your opinion.
In my opinion, yes, they can use their position as a creditor to try and seize some assets from the company to
And technology.
And technology.
They see it, and
So
that
that-
means all the meter designs, all the designs, so they steal that out, or take that out, and then what they need to make that really work is they need patents now. And then they have to sue the individuals to get that.
And therefore, the 3 individuals that were singled out for personal lawsuits,
It's pretty obvious.
by the way,
It's
which I've
very clear, we can all see
Yeah,
it.
which I've had to fund
We
out of
know
my own
exactly what
pocket
he's up
for 2 years, and $150,000 post-tax earnings, that's what my legal bills have been, $170,000. And I've never been an employee of the company. I'm just one of the 9 members of the board who happen to be the one singled out because, miraculously, I was a co-owner of the patents. But regardless of that, I mean, you asked the question. I don't understand what other reason there could be. And by the way, we had a loan agreement with NATCO that said you had 2 years to pay it back. So we had a loan. We acknowledged we borrowed it. We acknowledged that we were going to pay it back. Long before, even before the lawsuit started, we acknowledged that we had every intent to pay the loan back and that we would honor the agreement as per the terms of that agreement, which said we had 2 years from the date. Now, by the way, the 2 years are up now. The money was rolled out over about a 6-month period, with the last of the monies coming in 2 years ago about now. So whether they took us to court and sued us or not, either way the company would owe the money at this point. Fundamentally, we've gone through a, well, close to $1 million legal process to get from a point where we acknowledged we borrowed the money, they acknowledged they loaned it to us, and we had an agreement to dictate the terms and how it was paid back, to we acknowledge we owe the money, we acknowledge we got to pay it back, and the court said, yeah, you guys borrowed it, and they lent it to you. So all we've done is waste 2 years, $1 million in our time and effort to get to a point where we started from. We're no different than we were.
Except for all the negative publicity.
Except
and
for
reality of-
they've had an opportunity to spend all their money, take all their focus, time, effort away from growing the business to a point where they could get us to now, petitioning us to bankruptcy. So you can infer what you want out of that, but it seems kind of crazy that you would spend all that time and money. And fundamentally too, if you look at the NATCO website, they're a public company, and they have to disclose how much money they've spent on lawyers in that period of time. And I think for 2008, they claim they spent $5,000 on lawyers. Whereas, fundamentally, we had no choice but to defend the company because there's valuable assets, and our bills were substantially higher than that. So you can, take it from there. Paul, you have a question?
I don't right now.
Okay.